Hello and welcome to the Parenting Tools podcast with me, Jason.
And me, Jordan. This is the podcast where two parenting tools talk about the relentless beauty and the hilarious chaos of being dads.
Okay, good at that.
Thank you.
What episode are we on now?
7.
Episode 7.
Need to get better at that. Remembering what we're on.
Here we go.
Sweet, I'm so tired of you. Sweet, I'm so tired of you treating me this way. I'm sick and then
So George, how's the week been? How's the parenting highs and lows?
Do you know what? Can't think. Do you know, like when you go to work on a Monday, people are like, "How's your weekend?" And you're just like, "Yep, it's been and gone."
It's gone. Yeah, it's been a weekend.
Not a clue. But yeah, I'm going to say it's good. Nothing particularly outrageous has happened. Both kids are intact.
That's always good.
Yeah. There's been no hospital trips. There's been no bandages.
No drama. Living life.
Yeah. Got a little bit of a daddy issue that I'll pick up on in a bit.
So you say not too bad, but just nothing good either. It's just mediocre life.
I'm sure there's been some amazing bits. We went around and saw some friends yesterday who have got 3 kids. They've got a 9-month-old, 4-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Wow.
And it was carnage.
Wow.
With our kids, with their kids. There was one point where their baby was eating bird poo and none of us had realised. And then we're looking at the other kids like, what are they doing? And then we look over to the baby and baby's eating something. We're like, what's she eating? It's white, it's poo. Honestly. And then like you look at the baby for a second and then something's going on that way. We were outnumbered. And it was insane, but it was good. It was good fun. Had a water fight. Everyone got away.
Lovely.
I had ice creams and the ice cream got everywhere.
Sounds ideal.
It was carnage, but it was great.
So do you know what? Exactly the same. I cannot think what's happened, but lots has happened.
Yeah.
But it still feels just like, I can't believe it's a week ago that we recorded the last podcast.
I know what's happened in your life.
What?
Unless you didn't do it, but you told us you were going to do a camping test run.
Yes, we did, the camping test run.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we did, because 2 things. Firstly, the tent that we bought, brand new tent, never used it before.
The blackout tent.
Blackout tent.
The non-soundproof blackout tent.
Do you know what, it took me a while until listening back on that to realise what I was saying. Blackout tent blocks out the light. There we go, I've got it. But it's a blow-up one as well. So it's no tent pegs, just a pump.
Gosh.
Yep.
Hope it's not windy.
Instead of the poles, it goes into the little structures.
Yeah.
It's quite good, but it's huge.
Is it?
Literally, I didn't realise I must have bought like the biggest tent available. I remember walking around the shop going, I just need it to be enough room for, me, my wife and my child.
Yeah.
Like, is that going to be big enough? And it's like, you can fit a family of 6 in there. Like,
Really?
It's huge.
That's better than having one that's too small.
100%.
Yeah.
And genuinely, just took up far too much of the garden than I was anticipating. But it was good fun. Noah helped. She carried the peg around.
How did she sleep?
Actually really well. So the start was a bit difficult. Getting her to sleep was hard because she was just so excited.
Yeah,
She was. As soon as we put the tent up, she was just literally rolling around the floor. If you want to waste an afternoon, put a tent up. She's literally just rolling around. She loved it. Kept pretending to be asleep. That was brilliant. So it took us. Noah usually goes to sleep around 7, half 7. It was about 9 o'clock that M finally kind of came in and was like, oh, she's asleep.
Yeah.
And the tactic we went for is M just sleeping with her on the airbed.
Yeah.
And then I could just hear, because I was sat in the living room, I could just hear her constantly just jumping on M, and M trying as hard as she could not to laugh or And so 9 o'clock wasn't too bad, and she slept right through.
Oh, amazing.
It was amazing.
Till what time?
7.
So the blackout works?
Yeah, blackout completely worked.
Oh, amazing.
Worth the investment.
9 till 7's okay.
That was good considering we were camping as well.
Yeah, you take that every night when you're away, right?
And it doesn't matter what time she goes to sleep, she'll wake up at 7. So
yeah. Oh, that's.
had we got up to bed earlier, I reckon she would have slept the whole way through.
Yeah.
So I'll update you when we actually go for the proper thing. 5 nights. I'm not looking forward to the sleep aspect. But on the whole, she loves it. So that was.
Are you feeling more confident after the test run?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anything, just of putting the tent away.
Putting the tent away is horrific.
That was the most daunting aspect because it comes in a tiny bag.
Yeah.
And it's but all sorted.
It's like getting toothpaste back in the tube. It never goes in.
It just doesn't fit.
No.
But no, it was good. I would recommend. The key to camping with kids is spend as much money as possible.
Just let her jump on your wife.
just.
Whilst you're in the living room.
I had a lovely time. Not sure about him.
Oh, amazing. Well, I'm glad it went well. And do you know what? This is going to sound horrific and I'm going to sound like a horrible friend. But I hope the actual thing doesn't go as smoothly. For the stories.
For the good stories
For
of the
great
pod.
stories, yeah. Well, I saw something the other day. I follow this Twitter account called Fesshole. Don't know if you've come across it before.
No.
But people send in their random confessions.
Okay.
And they post
I was
them.
wondering what that could be then.
Yeah, and they post them anonymously. And some of them are brilliant, some of them are hilarious, some of them are a bit risque,
Yeah.
a bit naughty. And some of them are just, boring. But this one caught my attention.
Go on.
It says this: me and my partner have just had a baby, and to relieve stress, I have daddy days off, where I dress as if I'm going to work, but take leave from work without telling her. I've had 4 days off this year. The other day, I went for a couple of beers and fell asleep on the grass in the town. There's a lot of things I want to unpack about this.
That's a lot.
Like, we've all thought about it.
Yeah.
I've thought about that,
Yeah.
100%. Taking a day off and not telling the wife and just going and having the day to myself. I like the fact that he's done it.
Oh, that's brave though.
I like the fact he's done it 4 times.
Yeah,
That's a chunk of annual leave. My wife would 100% notice if we go to book a day off. I'm like, I've not got that day. She'd 100% be like, you're not taking that many days.
Go to take a holiday. I've got no holidays days left.
And she'd be asking me, what have you done it on? And yeah. If I said, I fell asleep on the grass in the town, that's another bit that made me laugh.
There's a lot of things about this which I personally would not be able to deal with the stress of. Like, first of all, like them finding out the whole life, that would make me so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But also, he's falling asleep, I'm presuming, in the town where they live.
Maybe, yeah.
So there's a chance that he's going to get found out that way.
Yeah.
But also, he must find some sort of like adrenaline rush from it because he gets ready for work. Yeah. That's the so elaborate, like, just plan.
Briefcase.
Like, surely you just make, you dress down day at work or something.
4th one this year.
Why you got football shorts on?
Teams calls. But for me, it's the off-seas. I don't know if he's lying to his wife or he's not just telling her. But for me, I would get 100% found out when I walk through the door. And I goes, have you had a good day? My face would just be, yeah.
That was terrible.
Yeah, but no, but a really good day actually, yeah. Why are you asking? Get off my case. I'd get 100%.
I'm a terrible liar.
Yeah, me too. I can't lie and I don't ever lie, but I would be found out straight away.
See, this is the thing. So, like, the way that our holiday works, so Em has to take off holiday for example, the camping trip, whereas for me that's work, and so I've got more holiday days left than Em does, but she's got like no problem with, like, I've booked another week off the week after. And, like, I don't get any extra duties or anything. It's just I've just booked a week off.
A dream.
Yeah, it's amazing. So it's just like that thing of that makes me so uncomfortable. Like, it's really funny.
It is really.
But I'm like. I'm like dying inside just imagining doing it.
The comments and the replies are funny. It's like, so she's just left at home then to struggle and all that kind of stuff. And I get it, like, especially if it's his first, just had a baby, so I'm guessing it's his first, adapting to life as a dad.
But that shows you how, like, relentless it is though, isn't it? It's like we've all thought about doing it.
To relieve the stress.
But even just going a step further, just actually book it in. Just like, I'm going to book a day off there because I just need a break.
I wonder how that conversation... If you're listening, a very slim chance that he's listening. But if you are, please, let us know how it goes when you tell your wife. Jason, we've got a guest today.
Oh, we do.
We've got a guest.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited.
Jinx. Very excited about today's guest. So today's guest is a guy called Kele. But I've known Kele a few years and he's a great, great guy. He's one of those guys who you speak to and you come away feeling challenged in a positive way. Like, if you say, I've always wanted to start a business doing this, he'll say, why not do it?
Okay.
What do you need to get that done? Kind of thing. And he's a very inspirational guy, top bloke. Recently had a baby.
Nice.
A few months in.
Fresh.
Fresh.
Yeah.
Fresh faced. Well, maybe not so now.
Amazing. Before we jump into our interview, for those of you who listen, if you enjoy the pod, make sure that you like it and leave a review, but also send in your messages. We would love to hear your stories, your comments. And we've actually had some bum bag love. And let me define. Last episode we talked about how bum bags, they'd never disappeared. They're always in.
In your book?
In my opinion, in my humble opinion on bum bags,
I don't think I've
they are
ever
a staple of dadhood.
I don't think I've ever worn a bum bag.
Really? Missing out. Just a quick action.
Do you know what? I'm open to anything. I'll give it a try. But we've had some bum bag love. So this came from Georgie. Said, on bum bags. And she's really selling the bum bags here.
Oh, a lot of love for it.
Says they are reliable and versatile in many ways.
Agreed.
Fantastic for putting your phone, keys and sun cream in on holiday. Taking it abroad.
Yeah.
Worldwide. As well as walking the dog, no pockets. Put your keys, treats and poo bags in them.
Trying dog.
It's a versatile item. It's the bum bag.
Oh, I've got to say, I completely agree. But not even just on holiday, just around in life. I mean, I don't actually own a bum bag, but I want to. Like, I feel like I want to aspire to it.
You've been advocating for bum bags and you've not even got one.
I feel like I've got to be a better person before I get one. Like, I'm not quite good enough to rep the bum bag. Let's get to more sensible matters. Let's welcome our guest.
Here's Kele.
Sweet, I'm so tired of you. Sweet, I'm so tired of you treating me this way. I'm sick and then I'm
Amazing. Well, hey, Kele, welcome to the podcast. It's so good to have you with us.
Thank you for having
Do you
me.
want to just take a moment, introduce yourself, tell us what you've got, what's your setup at home, all that lovely stuff.
Yeah. I'd love. So I have a 4-month-old son. He is literally the light of my life, but he's also a pain in the neck, especially when he's got bronchiolitis. I could be messing how I say that up, but yeah, he's amazing. Really good. I honestly, I am blessed to have a happy baby. Also my wife, Jess. So yeah, that's literally our setup. So yeah, it's evolving. Hopefully, not another kid anytime soon.
So Kele, you've got a bit of an accent on the go.
A little
Tell
bit.
us a little bit about where you're from and what brings you to this neck of the woods, because you're not from around here, right?
No, I'm definitely not. I am originally from Fiji, then grew up in Hawaii, went to school in college in California, and then
Wow.
I got a job offer here in Swansea, Wales. So I'm a youth pastor here, and loving it. And it's been a journey, a long journey, but absolutely loving it here. So
Wow.
Yeah.
So from Hawaii to California to Wales.
to Wales.
What's the biggest thing that you miss, and what's the
Food.
greatest thing?
Food, flavor. See. I know a lot of your listeners are from the UK. I'd love a little bit more flavor, but I miss the food. Definitely.
Flavor, is everything just bland and like
Yeah.
beige?
I mean, I wouldn't say that, but yeah, no, it's definitely been. I've definitely missed the food and family. So yeah, but it's
Family,
good.
yeah.
I've loved it here so far. So yeah, it's
What
been
would
great.
you say is the best thing about Wales?
Best thing about Wales. Ooh. There's a long
Let's put you on
list.
the spot.
There's
It's
a long list.
list.
Good,
Yeah,
good
yeah, yeah,
answer.
I've really got to pick which one to choose first. No, I'd say definitely so far has been community.
Wow.
Has been the
Yeah.
people I've loved. A brown guy coming into a predominantly white nation has been was a concern for myself coming in, but I haven't experienced anything negative, and I've loved the people. Absolutely, they're probably the nicest people I've ever met.
Wow.
Just everyone says hi to you. Everyone says good morning. Taking out the trash at night, and then a guy walks by with their dog, and just starts up a conversation. It's great. I love it. So
How have
they-
you dealt with the accent?
I've had some moments where I've had to like do a double, triple take of trying to hear what they're trying to say, but overall, it hasn't been too bad. It hasn't been too bad. So
It must get awkward after you've not heard it for the third time. You can't again go, I just didn't catch it.
Yeah, they just get annoyed. As would I, as would you. It's like, are you even listening? So yeah, but it's been great. Obviously um, there's just been when you go to a new because I lived in actually lived in Long Eaton for about 6-7 months. And that was a bit of a culture shock. So then knowing what to expect, but then also having in a very different aspect has also been a culture shock. So it's just adjusting to things. But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. So from Fiji to Hawaii, California, and then you stopped off Long Eaton in Nottingham, then to Wales. You're just peaking. You're going up and up a level. So you've just had obviously quite a big change in moving to Wales, completely different culture, and then you've brought in a baby into the mix. How has that changed? What's been the biggest change for you with fatherhood?
I mean, I'm sure everyone says this when they come on, and it's you can't really prepare. There's not a lot that can prepare you for waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning and then putting him straight to sleep and then trying to sleep and then waking up again another hour, and then it's just been honestly. If anything, it's shown a little bit more inner strength that I didn't know I had. But at the same time, it showed a lot of weaknesses, a lot of impatient. I've just been holding a crying baby that I met 4 hours ago, and now trying not to get upset at why he's crying. What do I need to do to stop him crying? And it's been a heck of a journey, and it's been a soul searching one also at the same time. As much as I've put a lot of time into connecting with him, it's also been in a sense it's been a mirror. He's been a very real and just really shown a lot of my flaws, but also a lot of my strengths, and it takes a lot to actually look and see that he's bringing out the best and also the worst sometimes in me, and it's not his fault, but it just does that. And that's how I've experienced it so far.
Oh, do you know, that's so interesting that you say that, because I think we were just talking literally the other day about how kids so often force us to change, but but in a way they force us to address stuff within us that we didn't really know was there.
Yeah.
And we've got to make our mind up on a whole lot of stuff, and then we also realize loads of stuff about ourselves. Like you said there, I didn't realize I was this impatient. And like,
Yes.
of course, like you introduce a crying thing which doesn't stop crying constantly. Sure, most people are going to become impatient, but before having kids, I thought, oh, it'll be fine, be easy. How bad could it be? Pretty bad.
Yeah. Really bad.
but also at the same time, like you said, just quite profound as well when you have kids. Of like that mirror thing can be quite hard to deal with sometimes.
Yeah.
But also on the other side of it, once you've dealt with that, it's actually quite freeing and like, oh wow, I'm glad I've actually felt and dealt with that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. For sure.
It's yeah. I'm early on into this journey. You guys are experts in my eyes. I bow down to your wisdom, but it's yeah. I'm still new to this. I'm still trying to figure it out.
The thing is, it changes every single week. And like, I know at your stage, it changes every day. And then
Yeah.
it's like every week it continues changing. And it's like there's always a new challenge and a new thing that you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the highs are high, aren't they? And the lows sometimes feel low.
Yeah, because in sometimes is when he hits a low, it also hits us as a couple, and we don't necessarily see it at that moment. But there is times when he does, like he's got bronchitis now, bronchiolitis. I'm messing this up.
One
I
of
don't
those.
know. Yeah, one of those. But at the same time, is I'm starting to feel sick. My wife is starting to feel sick also. I've got a camp coming up, and it's just like physically he's feeling sick, I'm feeling sick, my wife's feeling sick, my mother-in-law is feeling sick, and it's a chain reaction, and a lot of the times is when it it just happens like that sometimes. I think. Well, from my small experience so far.
So you've just mentioned, Kele, you've got a camp coming up. You're going camping with the church that you're a part of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before we started recording, we discovered that you are going to the same camp that Jason's going to.
Yes, we are.
Come on.
But you're a bit more wise. You're not taking your child with you.
Jason, you're taking. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so I mean, it was one of those things where my wife was like, "This will be a great idea," and I thought, no, it won't be. It'd be terrible."
Yeah.
But we've always done it together. We've always gone together, and just fair play. Like my wife Emily, she's put in the work. We did a test run in the garden camping, and yeah, it's she's not 4 months old though, so she's toddling around. She's getting there. So it's not as crucial as taking a 4-month-old, but still, I already regret the decision. But in the same sentence, like I also am really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
She loves music. She loves like any sort of live events. She loves going to church, and so like those things, she's gonna have an absolute amazing time. And so in a way, like the sleep deprivation is worth it. But had my wife not been like all out, and she's like agreed the whole week she's just on baby duty.
Wow.
And so like it's not even like she could tag me in because I'm looking after like all the other youth. And so it's like we're going in with this. This could go terribly, but it also could be quite good.
And it's an experience.
Oh, it will definitely be an experience.
What
you
do
guys get to hang out. I'm a bit jealous.
We get to meet actually in person. That'd be great.
Yeah, and he's not that far away from me either. I'm in green area, so but we'll be making sure I'll make sure we see each other. But what's something that you most looking forward to, and what's something you're also very terrified about taking Noah to the camp?
That's a good question.
I'm really looking forward to just spending time with her amongst what I do, because this is my job as well, and it's what I love, but I also love my family, and actually having those two things like intertwine is really rare, and not many people get to experience that. And so I'm looking forward to that. Actually, just her being around more. Like, when you're at work, you don't get to spend as much time with them, and so that I'm really looking forward to. What I'm not looking forward to, if she doesn't sleep well, then not only is she going to be having tantrums, I'm probably going to be having tantrums.
Yeah.
And my wife is going to feel like defeated. Like, when after you've had a really rough night's sleep and then you've got to look after the child all day.
Yeah.
That's tough. And it's like the worst case scenario could be pretty bad.
Yeah.
But we've got a backup plan. And the backup plan is if it gets too much, she's just going to go and drop Noah off at the in-laws and then come back. So
that's an amazing option to have. That's an amazing. How long is the drive?
It's about an hour and a half. So it's not too far at all.
Right.
And so that is the backup plan. But we've got to make it until at least Tuesday.
Okay.
Which is almost finished.
Yeah.
The childcare option is not available until at least then.
Oh.
So
I mean, I would take it if I were you. Take it whether or not.
I'm like, just plan it in. I'm like, don't even wait. Just make the plan.
Yeah.
Well, make sure you send me a picture, guys. Take a selfie, ping it on over, and let me know what I'm missing out on.
Yeah, probably sleep.
So that's Jace. You've just mentioned there that you've got the option to drop Noah off with family.
Yep.
Kele, something that I wanted to ask you about is obviously I know you. We've known each other for a few years. I know that your family and Jess's family don't live in Swansea. They don't live nearby.
Right.
How have you found that aspect of things? Because for me, I think it was like day 2 or 3. I was on the phone to my mum, like, "Mum, what do I do?" Then mum's around the house within 20 minutes. Yeah. How have you found not having that?
In a sense, because I grew up I have a very big family. So I'm one of 6. And then my mom is one of 6, and each one of my aunts and uncles have about 8 kids, 6 to 8 kids. So I come from a very big family where literally family is everything, and everyone supports each other. So coming from that background to then coming to a whole new country with nothing.
Mm.
It's been a journey. It's been no breaks, and there's nothing really that you could fall back to. So in a sense, we've kind of had to make it our norm that we've had to take care of. My son's name Zephy, Zephaniah. So it's been a norm that we've constantly we've life hasn't changed. We've done our social life, and we have people over at our house every week, and we're constantly doing things. And we've kind of had to make it normal, but it also sucks. My mother-in-law is an angel. Literally, she's amazing. When Zephy was born, she came down for 2 weeks and stayed and cooked for us and cleaned for us
Wow.
while we were trying to just adapt to parenting. And then she came down every time there's a big event where I had to go for work. She would come down and help take care. So within those big aspects, there has been a little bit of help, but in the everyday life, not knowing what to do, where we're both either my wife is doing something, meeting up with someone for work, or and I'm doing something else. One of us either has to take him, and there's no real like support, no real. Well, we have the support. There's no real place where we can feel like we can trust people yet, with Zephy, and that's changing. But it's still very surreal, and also just a very big learning curve for the both of us. But I'm hoping that changes soon. Where we're hoping maybe in the next year that my in-laws will move down and family move down, and that would be a massive help and change our whole life. But until then, it's still down to the two of us.
Yeah, just making it, like you say, making it the norm, I suppose, because you've never had that. You don't know what it's like to go without, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Have you found that kind of overwhelming at times? Have you had any moments where you think, I can't deal with this? Because I've had those moments with family nearby.
Yeah. Oh, all the time. Once, twice a week. And I've had to be open and be vulnerable with my wife, and because how our schedule works is so she's not working right now, but so I'd come home from work, she'd be watching him all day and be exhausted, and she wants a break. So I'd come home from work and then come home and watch him, and then after her break, then I'd go and cook dinner, and or vice versa, and there's just nonstop, like her doing something, I come home from work, I watch him, she's cooking, I cook, and it's taking turns, and there's no real break. There's no real space, no real room for us to actually, like, we haven't gone on a date. We've gone on one date on my birthday, and that's when we came up to Long Eaton, and gave Zephy to my in-laws to watch. But we haven't had a date. The idea, this is my thing. I'm looking forward to the most when my in-laws move down, is I am looking forward to going to a movie, and not having to think about Zephy. Love him, but just watch a movie and enjoy it. Eat popcorn, have a drink. That sounds so like so plain and so boring, but I just that you can't take a 4-month-old to a movie theater.
No.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, that was probably one of the biggest adjustments for us, of just the relentlessness of it.
Mm-hmm.
It is amazing, but it is just relentless.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, like, there is just no break. And like, just to give you a bit of hope, you do get breaks.
Yeah.
When you can eventually just put them down to sleep and leave them for like 12 hours. Oh,
Yeah.
that is like, it's like I've got a new life again.
Yeah.
But like, that thing for us was really hard, and like, just because it's constant and you're constantly tag teaming with your spouse.
Yeah.
And it's like, you really have had to build up some like really good relational ground, because it gets tough. Even the best like gets really tough, and it's just like, you're not spending quality time with each other because you're just surviving, just trying to get through. But it gets easier, from my experience anyway. If you decide to have a second, I'm not sure, but Jordan can speak into that.
I was just about to say, it gets easier, then you think, let's have another one, and then
No. Mm-mm. I've closed the door to that. I was like, that ain't gonna happen. She's already been thinking about it. Like 2 months after Zeffy was born, she was like, "Oh, I think I'd love to have a second." I'm like, "No, that is not gonna happen." No.
So we have this thing on the podcast where we talk about our daddy issues.
Mhm.
Not our issues of our fathers, but issues that we face as parents.
Mhm.
And it might be something like silly that just like grinds on us, or it could be like something quite big. Have
Right.
you got any daddy issues that you'd like to share?
I do. So, I would say
Out comes the list.
It's a safe space.
it's a long no. I would say the first time when they told us we could take him home, we brought him home, and then he starts screaming, or he starts crying, and all of this. Um, I know a lot of moms, especially, they say, "Oh, I loved him from the first moment." It took time for me, and I think a lot of people don't like talking about it, or even just sharing that. But it took a lot. It took about 2 weeks maybe to even just like look at him being like, no, I knew he was my son and I loved him.
Yeah.
But sometimes it was hard to even like him at times. And I think for the first, I would say, week or two, it was really tough because you're still trying to get to know him, his small quirks and what makes him happy, or even just calm him down. So I would say one of my first things first was it wasn't it was love for me at instantly, but it also, there was times where I didn't know, uh there was times where I didn't like him. and, and I didn't know how to handle that, and I felt guilty
Yeah.
at times. Like,
Mm.
I don't why do I feel this way? Why am I frustrated with my own kid, and not knowing how to handle that situation? But I think I noticed was once I started knowing why he was crying, the reasons behind it, and then it started changing things, and you get to know him, because at that time, at the time is you're trying to figure out why he's crying, and that's how you get to
Yeah.
know him.
Yeah.
And I think it took a month for it to actually start settling in. After 5 weeks, praise God, he slept for 8 hours within
Wow.
5 weeks.
Wow.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's starting to do 10 to 12 hours. So
Oh.
we're definitely really lucky. We know that that isn't normal. Well, from the friends that we do have here, that is parents, that isn't normal. But we're lucky. But I would say something more more recent would be the bronchiolitis.
Mm.
I still feel like I'm saying it wrong.
Well, we know you've got two people in your church that can tell you how to say it.
Yeah, that's very true. So yeah, I think with him having this lung infection, it's having to clean up projectile vomit, and it comes like a gun, and it just goes everywhere, sprays everywhere. And as much as you try to hold it in, and it's been a journey right now with knowing how to treat him, how to soothe him, and he's not happy. He's not his normal self, and I think right now I'm just trying to take my day off, but also knowing that it's not really a day off.
Yeah.
And knowing how to and my mother-in-law is here now, and she hasn't seen him in like 2 months, and the very first day she came and saw him, he started getting sick. So it's almost like you want to show the best side of their grandchild, but not really seeing that. So yeah, it's a bit of a journey. That's something that I've been my issues right now with the not issues, but struggles.
It's totally related. It's not even the first time that we've had the love at first sight thing. That's actually been quite a common thing that when I speak to new parents, it's one of the biggest misconceptions that a lot of people have.
Yeah.
And me and Jordan even have very different experiences in that. Like I absolutely loved her, but it was just protection.
Yeah.
And I like to refer to babies until they can like interact with you as potatoes, because it's like you've got this potato that's really delicate and you have to look after.
Yeah.
But there was no like connection on any other level than my job is to protect you. Whereas for me, it took a long time to get into that. But even just like what you were saying, like with like when they're ill, like so our daughter's been had various stuff like over the 2 years. Like we've been in and out of hospital quite a lot, and
no.
one of the things that I really related with is not only catching their illnesses off them, but like the toll that takes on like your mental state as well. Because obviously, like if it's within us that it's like our job to protect them and look after them, and when we can't do that, like they have to recover from their illness, and then it's almost then you can begin to recover from the toll that it's taken on you.
Yeah.
And so like we'll know if Noah goes into hospital, even like just an A&E trip or something small now, it will take us another week before we can actually just get back to where we were, because all the stress, all the stuff that comes up, and it's like we've got for the rest of that week we know that we're going to be battling, and it's like we've now recognized that, and like so much just take the pedals off, and like we're so much easier on ourselves. And like you, my day off is looking after my daughter.
Yeah.
And like that has got so much better as she's got older. And like now I really love it. Like we'll just go to like soft play or something, even though I hate soft plays. But that time's become so precious.
Yeah.
But learning that balance of trying to find rest and like trying to recover for yourself as a parent, that's so difficult.
Yeah.
And like not many people like teach you how to do that. I suppose it's so difficult with like different jobs and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, definitely I sympathize with a lot of your daddy issues.
Yeah.
For me, it's when you make the meal, you pass something on.
Oh.
That is just pure guilt. Like if I get a cold, I'll try to avoid holding the kids, and you just can't not hold them. Like you've got to help out and you've got to do stuff.
Yeah.
And then they get the cold, and I just feel so bad if I've passed it on. Even though it's only something little like a cold, it's fine after a week. But
I have those questions even if I wasn't ill and then they get ill. I'm like, what did I do to like cause this?
Yeah.
Like what have I done to make them ill? And like the guilt is there, like regardless.
Yeah.
it's amazing, isn't it, how quickly you get used to having sick on you. Like for me,
Yes.
I was never good with sick ever. Like I couldn't look at it, I couldn't smell it. I would be sick myself. And then all of a sudden, like we were at a party, a kids party recently, a few months ago now, and one of the kids was going to be sick, and I just put my hand out. It wasn't my kid, and I just put my hand out and caught it because they were in the ball pit, and it was just like reflex muscle memory, and I was just so comfortable with it. And one of the other dads just went, "What a dad." And I was just thinking, I am too comfortable.
I don't think
Sickness
that's
now.
I don't think that's a universal thing there.
No.
I didn't even think about it. The hand just came out and then it landed in my hand, and I thought that's someone else's child.
I
But
mean,
you know,
firstly, what a man. That was a great move. Not a move that I would do.
No.
As
I
soon as
admire
it-
you from
Yeah.
afar.
well, I admire my past self. Because if I had time to think about it, I don't think I'd have done it. But
It's as soon as it becomes like non-milky sick, I'm out.
solids change the game. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Ugh.
Yeah, you've got that to look forward to, Kele. Once they start eating solids, everything changes. The fluids change, the smells change, the textures change.
Yeah, his farts his farts stink. It's so bad. It is, but it's funny is I would fart in the car and then I'd blame him and Jess would not know a difference.
That's brilliant.
I do not know how that is genetically possible, but it works. He's my scapegoat.
So were things quite smooth in terms of having him and delivery and all that kind of stuff, birth?
Yeah. So she was having labor. She was in labor for actually not long. But they didn't think she was crying. How do I put it? She was having a hard time waiting because she had maybe one or two. She was dilated 2 centimeters. So they didn't say anything, and she was in pain, like excruciating, and one of the nurses came up to her. She was like, "Oh well, some women just handle pain differently," and didn't give anything, nothing. So she had to like tough it out, and then I had to leave, and then as soon as I got home from the hospital, and I live about 20 minutes away. As soon as I got home from the hospital, maybe about 40 minutes later, so altogether an hour after I left, the nurse calls and said that she's 7 centimeters dilated and ready to go. Yeah, and it had been, but I was at the hospital for about 4 hours, and they didn't give her anything, and she was just sitting there, and they didn't tend to her. But thank God I left. By the time I got there, she was already starting to push, and she had 15 minutes of pushing. And that was it.
Wow.
So she had like really, really easy. Can't really, she can't complain either. But she didn't have any pain meds, nothing. So it was all natural, and gas and air was the best friend. So I was actually talking to, yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine. So he was saying that like while his wife was giving birth, he was taking the gas in there. And I was like, why didn't I think of that?
I remember the nurse left, and the first thing I did was grabbed it. And then there was one point where my wife just had a head on the bed, and she was holding the gas and air here, and I just came over, and and she was going, "Not now." But I think that was one of my worst fears. I was we were in the hospital, and I had a really blocked nose. And I said, I'm just going to go to the pharmacy, because the room was quite warm and stuffy, and I just couldn't breathe. So I'm just going to nip to the pharmacy and buy some nasal spray. And this was first time around. There was no sign of the baby coming. I was gone about 5 minutes, and I was thinking, I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss it. So I don't know how you felt when you were, just got home, and then the phone rings. Did your heart sink?
Yes. I was running. I literally had one shoe on and then had the other shoe in my hand, running out the door. I don't even know if I locked my house, honestly. But I was out the door. I have a funny story actually. So after Jess gives birth with Zeffy, so obviously they're sewing her up and all that, and then all of a sudden the doctors leave and she's still exposed. And then all of a sudden this lady walks in, and it's like, oh, how you doing, how you feeling, and like general like doctor questions and stuff. And we thought she was one of the doctors. And then all of a sudden she started asking like deeper questions, like, oh, how's Zeffy doing, and is he okay, and what's going on, are you guys when are you guys leaving to go out, and like questions that doctors don't normally ask. I found out that this is one of my youth's parents. Walks in on my wife, spread wide open after giving birth to a kid 5 minutes earlier, and having an open conversation. Literally, I've never looked at that woman the same again. And I see her every week. She drops her 3 kids off, and I've never looked at her the same.
Oh my word.
How did she get in?
It was she's a doctor there.
Oh.
Anesthesiologist.
And she just waltzed on in.
She just walked in. She heard my accent. She heard me. I wasn't screaming. I was talking loud. She heard me. So she walked in, popped her head in for the first time, and then went back, and then came back like 30 seconds later, and then open conversation. Yeah.
Wow. How awkward is that?
That is. Oh, my wife was mortified. She was not happy, but it was fine. She didn't make it awkward or anything like that, but yeah, it was very a heck of an experience.
Wow.
I can just imagine. Got any plans on Sunday? And past the weekend?
It was surreal.
So Kele, you just mentioned there about Jess's birth being pretty straightforward. But again, I know a bit of your backstory, and I know that it wasn't your first pregnancy. You've had a failed pregnancy, a miscarriage previously. Mm-hmm. How did that affect you guys kind of on an individual basis, as a couple? And then what was kind of your thought process with trying again? I know I've thrown a lot of questions at you there,
Yeah.
but how was that experience?
It was terrifying. It was probably some of the worst. I think for myself was emotional and mental pain. For my wife was physical because
Mm.
um, when we had the miscarriage, she um, the she didn't everything didn't come out at one time, and she had to go back in a couple months later, and she was sick for a couple months, and she had a lot of health issues go on because of that, because of the toxins that was in her body, and she had a really tough time physically, and that also took a toll on us mentally, on just because we found out when our first when we first got pregnant, his name we was gonna name him Zedekiah, and when Z was when we found out that we were pregnant with Z, it was Christmas time, and there was a lot going on. There's a lot of my friends getting pregnant, and just a lot of joy. And one of my best friends, uh, he got pregnant 2 months. They got pregnant 2 months before we found out, and there was a lot of milestones that was happening, and we were mentally creating milestones for our family and moving forward. And what had happened was it just when we found out what they had the miss the way we lost the baby, it just shattered everything. It took, I would say, it took a solid maybe 8 months, 9 months, to even think about another baby. And the hardest part for me, and I know this is a lot of what I'm sharing is very vulnerable for my wife, but a lot of things was my wife made that her like she almost took that what had happened on as her own. When we lost the baby, she was blaming herself. It's like, oh, my body did this. Why can't I produce a baby? And what is wrong with me? And can I ever produce, or can I ever do anything um, to be fertile? And it took a long time to unwind all of those lies, to even just try not to fix when all those when things like that was happening, was trying not to fix her.
Mm.
There was nothing wrong with her. That's, if anything, that should be natural, to not to that extent, but to question, um, and because she needed to grieve, she needed to go through her process, and it is only an issue when she stays there, but she needed to process, and she needed to go through a lot of these things, and it was a long journey, seeing my best friend have his son, and then having to celebrate them, but then also grieve, because we built milestones together as best friends, and it was a hard process, a hard learning curve, um, and then right when we thought that we could even talk about it, then found out that she was pregnant again with Zephaniah, and it's been, even after we found out she was pregnant, um, the anxiety, the fear of losing this one, and it wasn't. I think, especially in the beginning, it wasn't if, it was this mental thing of when am I going to lose this baby, and it was it was a constant thing, a constant battle that we had to just go through and go over, and the physical, and just had probably one of the worst pregnancies out of all of the friends. We did an antenatal class, and there's other like 6 other couples, and she had the worst. She couldn't walk. She had to quit her job early on. She could barely eat. She was in the hospital um, most of her first trimester. She was in the hospital, in and out, and she had to stay there for a week, and she almost died personally, as a person. And then when the second trimester came, that's when I moved here. And the very same week that I came here, all of a sudden it was like she turned a page, and she could start walking, she could do things her own, like basic things. And then we had to pack everything. When she was almost a couple weeks before that, she almost died. So then to repack everything and move to Wales was a whole process. But yeah, the whole miscarriage, it took a long time. Even after we were pregnant with the second, with Zephaniah, it took a long time till, I would say, probably the start of the second trimester was when she could actually hope that that we would keep, and he would stay alive. And any small thing that would happen, we'd have to go and check, because she was and fair enough, we were very worried. So yeah, so that was a whole journey.
Yeah. Well, I'm really sorry that you had to go through that, and thank you for sharing that and being so open on that front. How did you feel from a guy's perspective? Did you feel kind of supported? Were you kind of just left to it whilst attention was on Jess? How did it look from your point of view?
I think for myself personally, if anything, I probably suppressed a lot of my emotion to make sure that I was there for her, because she was going through it physically, not just emotionally. And because I couldn't do anything about it, I tried to make sure that I was there for her. And I didn't realize that by me not sharing how I'm actually feeling, I'm not helping. I'm not being part of the process. And it wasn't till like we had a moment where months had gone on, and I would try not to share how I was feeling because I didn't want to discourage her. But I didn't realize that by me sharing it was actually encouraging her, because it didn't make her feel like she was alone. And it, I would say, did I feel supported? Probably not, because I think initially I had pushed all the support towards her. That by the time it came back to me to actually unwind all of the things and process through all of the things that I was suppressing, I probably it took a long time, and Jess was patient, but there was times when I would need to have conversations with people outside, because perspective was great for me at that moment. Just talking to someone who's not in the situation, who's not seeing the everyday thing, and just giving a little bit of perspective helped for myself. And I think after it came to that point, there was only one person that I was turning to, and I was talking to my best friend about it. And yeah, it took a lot, but it at the same time helped draw us closer together, because it allowed us to communicate openly towards each other and at each other about where we're at, without feeling like, but if I say this, if I say that, oh, I feel sad about about Zedekiah, the first, I didn't think that would trigger her, and I had to allow myself to remember and give myself space to openly communicate.
Wow.
Yeah.
One of my questions is, I can't imagine kind of going through that process. And then obviously the thing which still racks my brain is that when this happens, the world just keeps going.
Yep.
Like, you're still expected to work, you still expect life still goes on. How did you get through that? Because like for me, like we went through when we went through a bad time with Noah, we quit everything, and like that was our option. How did you keep going? And like you said, it took a long time to process, and probably still is processing stuff now. But what kept you going?
So, oh, this sounds so depressing. So at that time, my dad had just found out that he had cancer.
Wow.
So my dad was also passing away. And right in the middle of throughout the whole process, when I started opening up, maybe 6 months later, after the whole situation happened, when I started opening up, my dad actually passed away.
Wow.
So then having to process my old man dying, and then unwind going through all of this, um I didn't have a choice. And I think I own my own business also at the same time. And I had to go to work, and I had to go and make sure that the bills were being paid, that we had to um Jess was coming back and forth from England to Hawaii, so I had to make sure that a lot of our daily lives essentials were taken care of. um I just didn't have an option. I had to be strong. And there was times when I didn't want to, and I allowed myself to not need to be at those times. But at the same time, was um, it 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 took a toll in certain moments. It took a lot of breaking down, and just allowing myself to weep, allowing myself to cry, allowing myself to doubt who God was. There was a moment, and there's a moment for me when my dad passed away. I went outside as soon as he passed away, uh, like literally minutes. I sat outside on my car and I looked at God, and I was like, I could easily believe that you weren't good. And I could easily believe and walk away from my faith, and not care. And I've seen healings, I've seen countless things here and there, and all these amazing things that God's done through my hands. But um, I could have easily just stayed in my hurt, in my disbelief that God is good. Um, but I chose that no, he is good. I chose to still step and and coming to that crossroad made me really value my relationship with God. And it just it made me rooted deeper, and made me also confine not confine confide in my wife, and really just like she's at that time my dad was everything. I had grown a business with my dad. I had built company, uh, took care of our family together. We did everything together growing up from when I was 12 years old. And um, and I didn't fully, and my wife knows this too. I didn't fully give her everything until my dad passed away. It was because I shared a lot of my heart with my when my wife was with because of my dad. And that was at that moment around that time was when I fully like gave everything, and like confided and talked, actually opened up about everything with my wife.
Wow.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's profound.
Mhm.
That's profound. And again, thank you for sharing that. And so, how do you see now? So, you've just mentioned your father, and we've briefly discussed this on the podcast that we see a lot of our dads in the way that we parent and the way that we interact. Do you see your father in yourself as you're a father now?
Yes and no. So my dad my dad is an amazing, he has 8 grandkids. He had 7 when he passed. And what he was, obviously as a parent to me, was very different to who he was as a grandparent. I grew up with him when I was 12 years old and moved to America to him, and he put me straight to work. Um, I tell people that I went to school, but I didn't. I had to tell them that. But I have no education. I have nothing that qualifies me for anything that I'm doing now. But he taught me how to work. He taught me how to value money. He taught me how to build structures. He taught me how to be a people person, and how to treat people like family, and value all that. And he taught me all of those amazing things. But he also had a very bad temper. My dad was a very short tempered person. When he loses his temper, he would just flip. And I took a lot of great things that he was as a person, and I also tried to make sure that I stayed as far away from that temper as possible, because it was bad. So yeah, so yes and no. I've tried to be like him in all his good aspects.
Wow, amazing. Goodness. So it sounds like you've been through it the last few years.
Yeah.
Between, jetting to America and back, and Jess doing the same, and then pregnancies and your father, and then we're at the point now where you've got Zeffie.
Yeah.
Amazing. What a journey. Kele, thank you so much for giving us your time. Again, thank you for your honesty and your transparency and sharing a bit of your story. Before you leave, we would just like to ask you for one simple tip or one of your best bits of advice for new parents. What would that be?
It's all normal.
So good.
It's all normal.
That's brilliant.
Amazing. Kele, thank you so much.
Mhm. Thank
Amazing.
you guys. I appreciate it.
Sweet, I'm so tired of you. Sweet, I'm so tired of you treat me this way. I'm sick and then
What an amazing interview. What a great guy as well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed talking to Kele just then. We covered a lot of topics and a lot of big issues that, like Kele said, don't get talked about. And as fellas and as guys, and I know that the role of the man in the house has changed over the years, and it's a bit more 50-50, but really we're genetically wired to just want to protect and provide for our families. So I completely get what he was saying there about holding stuff back, to protect his wife, but really letting your wife know that you're in the same boat is really important.
So helpful. So yeah, just make sure you find someone to talk to. You're probably not the only person to have ever gone through this, and if you keep it inside, you'll always think that you are.
Yeah, so please feel free to reach out to us. You can contact us on parentingtoolspod@gmail.com if you want to send us an email, or Jace, if you're on social media, how can people contact us?
At Parenting Tools Pod on TikTok and Instagram.
Amazing. Jace, enjoy camping.
Do you know what? I'm really looking forward to it. But I'm also looking forward to sharing my terrible stories on the
I'm
other
meeting
side.
Kele.
Yes, that's going to be a
amazing is
highlight
that?
too. That's really cool. Didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
It's going to be great. Cool. Well, that's episode, what's that, episode 7?
That's episode 7.
Episode 7 done. See you next week.
sweet, I'm so tired.